I'm gearing up for a work trip this week. I took my own advice after recording episode 104, 10 signs you need to look for a new job. And I went and actually looked for a new job within my company. After 6 years of being in my current role, I'm trying something new, which is one of the benefits of working for a big company. There's just so much opportunity to move groups and transfer skill sets from one role to another. It just takes a little courage and confidence to put yourself out there and to really just try something new, push through those fears and go for it. So I did it. I got the job and now I'm traveling to meet my new team, which is very exciting. Also a little nerve-wracking, but I'm hoping to inspire you mamas that are in a job that is making you unhappy, that is throwing off your work-life balance, that is draining you of your energy to make a change. Check out that episode. I'll link it in the show notes and hopefully it will give you the courage to start looking for a happier situation for yourself. And speaking of show notes, I'm curious how many of you actually take the time to scroll down and to check them out. I have some awesome freebies that I include in every episode. And every time I create a new freebie, I try to go in and update my old show notes to include them. I think I actually have 4 in there now. I have my Morning Made Simple guide, my Save Time and Money with Meal Planning guide, and that one is one every working mom should grab. Who doesn't want to make weeknight dinners a little easier? I have a spring cleaning checklist, which is actually also perfect for a fall cleaning checklist too. And my tech timeout for moms. That one will literally give you hours back in your week. It teaches you how to set up those boundaries with your cell phone. So check out the show notes and grab your freebies today. And speaking of boundaries, this week we are talking about creating those boundaries at work so that you can have better work-life balance. So let's jump right in. Are you feeling overwhelmed trying to juggle all the many hats you wear as a working mom? Do you want more quality time with your family without distraction of work and time alone to take care of yourself and your needs? Welcome to Mom Wife Career Life. I'm Kerri, a wife, mom of 3, and a recovering perfectionist. In this podcast, I will teach you how to create balance in your life by implementing healthy habits, organizing your home and your schedule, being intentional with your time and in your relationships, and most importantly, how to start putting your needs first because no one can pour from an empty cup. Grab that second cup of coffee, or if you're anything like me, your third. It's time to dive into today's episode of Mom Wife Career Life. Creating and respecting boundaries at work is one of those things that sounds so simple but can feel pretty complex, especially as a working mom. It's so easy to want to say yes to everything because you're a team player or because you're a people pleaser or because you just don't want to let anyone down. But here's the truth. Setting boundaries isn't about just protecting your personal time. It's about being a better employee, a better manager, a better mom, and a better version of yourself. And if you are a people manager, you are leading by example and helping to create a culture where people are considerate and respect each other's personal time and space, which also helps foster work-life balance, not just for yourself, but for everyone, which will go a seriously long way in making your team more productive, more loyal, and just overall happier. So how do you create those boundaries? You start with number 1, defining your priorities. Before you can create boundaries, it helps to really know what you're protecting. What are your top priorities? For many of us, it's family, it's our health. For me, it's my mental sanity, let's be real. When you're clear on what's most important, it becomes easier to draw the line between work and everything else. Boundaries start with knowing what you absolutely can't compromise, those non-negotiables. For me, my hard boundaries are my weekends and my family vacations. Come Friday evening, I'm shutting down my computer. I do not open it or check my emails until 8 a.m. on Mondays. My weekends are my time to detach. They are my family time, my self-care time, my reset time, my rejuvenation time, my prep for the next week time. And my vacations are pretty self-explanatory. They are my vacation days, my paid time off. I joke around with my team before I go on vacation and I say, I'm going on vacation and my job is not invited. I have a great episode on how to disconnect from work while you're on vacation. I will link that one in the show notes as well. It's episode 106, if I'm remembering correctly. And the caveat here, which is one of the things I talk about in that episode, is really setting everyone up for success while you're out, which involves planning in advance. So if you have an upcoming vacation, make sure you check out that episode so that you can truly be on vacation and leave work at home, or more importantly, in the office. Number 2, be clear and direct with your boundaries. When you're setting boundaries, be upfront with your team. If you're logging off at 5:30 to have dinner with your family, make that known. It's not just about making excuses or apologizing for wanting a balanced life. It's about setting those expectations. For example, you could say, "I'm available until 5:30 p.m. each day. After that, I'm dedicated to my family. But I'm fully present and fully here until then." I had someone tell me on an interview that they cannot work past 6 p.m., that they have other obligations, and it's something that they stick to. And I completely respected that. What I will say is that these type of boundaries are a lot more acceptable when you actually perform well at your job. You can't underperform, miss deadlines, show up late to meetings, and then expect people to respect a boundary when they're waiting on information from you that they really should have gotten yesterday. People are a lot more inclined to respect your time when you earn their respect. So keep that in mind. Number 3, communicate effectively. Communication is key to everything, every relationship, and just life running smoothly. Boundaries can only work if people know that they exist. If you're working with a team or clients who tend to reach out to you after hours, it's worth having a conversation. Like, I try not to be on my phone or checking work emails after hours so that I can be more present with my family. But if there's an emergency, here's how you can contact me. This lets them know what to expect, and it makes you feel a lot less stressed about those late night messages. And hopefully, you're not even checking or seeing these messages after hours. But if you've already started the bad habit of checking in and responding after hours and you're trying to backpedal your way out of it, start by having the conversation with your manager. Tell him or her that you're finding yourself working late hours and that you're constantly checking your emails because you don't want to seem non responsive, but that it's starting to really affect your home life and you need to start setting boundaries with your phone so that you could just be more present with your family. Explain that you will make it a point to check your emails first thing in the morning and respond accordingly. I actually block out the first hour of my morning just to go through emails, respond to anything I missed the day before, and just to set myself up for the day. If that conversation does not go well with your manager, then refer back to episode 104, Signs You Need to Look for a New Job. You will never get this time back with your kids. When I tell you it goes so fast, it does, which I'm sure you're already seeing, but the crappy part is the older they get, the faster it seems to go. I missed out on so much when they were little because I didn't have those boundaries in place. I was also a property manager and was on call 24/7, so it kind of came with the job, which is also why I made the career change. So, unless you're doing life-changing work or life-saving work as a mom or getting paid some serious cash, you shouldn't be tied to your job 24/7. So, take some time to really reflect on whether your job is worth it. If you can't have those conversations with your manager, maybe it's time to find another manager. Number 4, schedule time blocks for focus work. Sometimes it's not just about setting boundaries with other, but actually with yourself. If you're constantly distracted, it's really hard to feel like you've accomplished anything, which makes it tempting to keep working longer. So I strongly suggest to block out time on your calendar for focus time. Turn off notifications, shut the office door, or put headphones on if you don't have a door, or if you work from home, clear your space of any distractions, put your cell phone in another room, and just dive in. The more productive you are during work hours, the easier it is to stick to boundaries. I block time on my Fridays to go through my following week's calendar, and I try to do 2 weeks in advance to see what I have going on. And then I time block out any free time I have on my calendar to actually work on any deliverables I have. My job is so meeting heavy that if I don't block out my calendar, it will literally fill up with meetings and I will not get any actual tactical work done. And I have a lot of tactical work required of me in the next few weeks. So if I want to maintain any resemblance of work life balance, I have to block that time to do actual work or I'm going to be forced to work late nights. And I'm trying to avoid that by any means possible. I'm in a transition phase. I'm also training someone to take my job while the work is starting to pile up in my new role. So I won't have the best balance in the next few weeks. I know that, but that's where boundaries really come into play. I may work later to get tactical deliverables I have completed, but I'm trying to stick to anything past 5 p.m. being strictly for me to catch up on my stuff and not responding to emails or attending any meetings. Number 5, practice saying no or not right now. This can be really tough, especially for those people pleasers out there like myself, and for those of us who have just been conditioned to feel that saying no makes us less capable. But no doesn't make you any less of a team player. It just means you're being realistic about what you can handle. Saying yes to everything often leads to burnout, it can lead to resentment and total lack of focus. If the requests or projects fall outside of your scope of work, or what you feel is your job description, and you feel it will affect your well-being or your ability to fulfill your primary responsibilities effectively, try politely but firmly declining, like saying, I appreciate you thinking of me for this project, but I'm currently focused on meeting deadlines for my current workload. I just don't have the bandwidth to take on additional responsibilities at the moment. I think most people could respect that. And you can even soften that by saying, I can't take this on right now, but I can help with it later, or I can help if we just adjust the timeline a little. Or if it's your manager that's asking you to take on more or that something is a top priority, try showing them everything you're working on and what you feel the priorities are, and use that to drive a conversation. You can say, here are the things I'm currently working on. I'm happy to support this new ask if one of these things can come off my plate or if we can change the deadline. I require my team to keep a task tracker for this exact purpose. It's such a valuable tool. First and foremost, it helps you keep track of everything you're working on, what the ask is, the due date, the status, who the task is currently with, if it's multiple people working on it. Our tasks usually involve getting information from other people and multiple approvals, and we tag it by priorities, which I also tell my team everything can't be a priority. And if you're finding that everything seems to be a priority and you can't keep up, then it helps drive the discussion of needing more resources. There are just so many benefits. But back to boundaries. Boundaries are about prioritizing what matters most and really understanding your limits. Number 6. Set boundaries around email and messaging. This one is a biggie, and I know we already touched on it, but if you're answering emails when you should be off the clock, you are totally blurring those boundary lines. So set a rule for yourself, like no emails after 6 p.m. Most things can wait until the morning, and setting this expectation helps others understand that you're not available 24/7. Trust me, your brain will thank you for the break. You can also set your email responses for delayed deliveries so that you can respond after hours, but it doesn't show up in the person's inbox until the time you specify. So if you're working past 5 o'clock and you want to get your email responses out and off your plate, schedule them to send the next morning at 8 a.m. or whatever time your work time starts. This way, people don't see you working outside of your working hours and think that you don't have that boundary in place. And if you send it after hours, they may respond right away with another email, with another ask or a deliverable, and then you're going to feel that pressure to respond to work on whatever they're asking. I also know you kind of want people to know that you're working longer hours if you're doing it because you want to get that credit or kudos to show that you're putting in all that extra effort. But again, once you open that door, it's open and people will expect you to answer after hours. 2 more points I want to make on emails. With emails, I don't send any emails that require a response or action from someone else late on a Friday. I might create the email on a Friday, but I schedule it to send first thing Monday morning. I do this for 2 reasons. First, I don't want to stress anyone out that doesn't have boundaries in place and make them think that I'm expecting a response from them or them to do something before they log off for the weekend, or worse, have them work on it during the weekend. And second, if it's in their inbox first thing on a Monday morning, there's a better chance of them seeing it and actioning it right away. And now for messaging. Most offices have some sort of internal instant messaging. I love it, especially working remotely, because I feel like it keeps us very well connected, but it can be very distracting. I'm very big on instant messaging etiquette, and it's the first thing I tell any new team member. I request that everyone on my team starts an instant message conversation, first asking the person if they're able to IM. Don't just ping them with a question or starting a conversation. It's super distracting if you're working on something or if you're in a meeting. I know there are notification settings that you could put in place to not get pop-ups during meeting, but I'm always in meetings and I need to be available for my team if they need me. So if I'm in an important meeting or a one-on-one where I need to be focused, I'll respond, give me 10 minutes or whatever time I need. But if I'm in a meeting where I can multitask, then I can have the conversation. If they need to chat, then the same thing. I ask that they ask first if I can IM, and then if I can, then they can ask if I could chat. And I do the same to them. The next 2 are more things you can do to respect other people's time. So number 7, be considerate when scheduling last minute or short notice meetings. This is another big one for me. This is both if you work in the office and remotely, and this is both boundaries with space and boundaries with time. You can't expect other people to respect your boundaries if you're not respecting theirs. And maybe not everyone has boundaries, but it is a two-way street and you need to lead by example. I already mentioned the whole instant messenger etiquette, but I'm also considerate about setting up last-minute meetings or same week meetings. If I have to make a one-on-one meeting with someone or a small group and it's last minute, I try to reach out to them first to let them know that I have to set up a meeting. And I give them the option of providing times that work. They may respond that their calendar is up to date and just book whenever, and that's great. But I don't assume that everyone is as organized as me with their time blocking. And I don't want to take that one spot they have in their day if they need that time to prep to get actual work done. So I don't just put meetings on the calendar unless it's a large group or it's a major fire drill where it's impossible to find time that works for everyone or we need to meet as soon as possible. So it's basically they need to try to reschedule whatever they had planned to address whatever the issue is. And Fridays, like I said, Fridays are my catch up days, and I try to respect everyone's Fridays. So I will never book a Friday meeting without checking with someone first if they're available. And I definitely don't book any meetings Friday afternoon because I feel like that's everyone's sacred week space. That might seem like overkill, but especially as a manager, if you follow this with your team, they will really appreciate it and it will help build their trust and their loyalty to you. I promise you. Number 8, avoid late meetings when possible, especially on Fridays. I know I just talked about this, but the end of the day is for winding down, getting things off your plate, setting yourself up for success the next day. And if you work in the office and people commute, they might be living by a train or bus schedule, and keeping them that few minutes past the time they normally leave can completely throw off their commute by a half hour, even an hour. And I always think of it through a lens of a parent. That's less time they get to spend with their babies or can throw their whole evening activities off. If they have to make their kids' sports events or get their kids somewhere or make dinner, it's just unnecessary stress that should be avoided wherever you can. Luckily, I work from home, but we have to deal with it all the time with Russ's schedule. When he just misses a train, he can't make it to a game. Or I thought he could help with driving the kids somewhere while I get dinner ready. And he gets stuck and now he's home later and I have to figure out how to do both. And I know some people that work remote that schedule meetings don't think of the parent that is calling into the meeting from the office. So for the person working remotely, if the meeting goes past 5, it's not a big deal. But they're not thinking about the possible impact it has on the other people attending the meeting. So just be mindful of that the next time you're booking late meetings. I am also a firm believer of no meetings on Friday afternoon. I would love to have a meetingless Friday, which some of my clients do, but Friday mornings are usually for me to touch base with my team members that I didn't get a chance to connect with during the week and to help them with whatever they're struggling on. But I never just have meetings to have meetings. And Friday afternoon, no one wants to deal with a meeting on a Friday afternoon. I tell my team Friday afternoons are to wrap up everything that you didn't get to wrap up during the week and to take time to look 2 weeks ahead to see what's going on and to really plan their following weeks to be successful. And that includes time blocking some of their calendar to work on whatever deliverables they have. I also feel the same way about early Monday morning meetings. Let people get settled into the work week and have a cup of coffee to wake them up. I block my first hour on Mondays to refresh myself on what's going on in the week, what my priorities are, and to catch up on any emails that I didn't get to the week before or any that came in over the weekend, which I'm trying to train everyone in my life to just take the weekends off. Number 9, use technology to your advantage. Leverage those do not disturb features on all of your devices. Like I mentioned, we work primarily through Microsoft Teams in our company. And if there's something I need to really focus on and don't want to be distracted, I will put on my do not disturb function. I rarely do it because I already have the system in place with most of the people I communicate with that they will check with me first if I'm able to, I am. But if I have a big deadline that I really need to focus on, I will put it on. And I usually tell my manager why I'm putting it on and let her know that she can always still reach out to me because we need to have that open communication. It's more for everyone else. If you have to work late to finish something up, you can also make it look like you're offline or away. I know some people are thinking, well, if I'm working late, I want people to know I'm working late. But at the same time, I would rather get my work done and get off the computer than have other people see me online and think I'm working so that they can reach out and end up interrupting me. And then I have to work later than planned because I got interrupted and had to have a conversation with them. So just keep that in mind. You can also use the do not disturb function if you're trying to have family time. Turn on do not disturb or mute your work-related notifications on your cell phone. Bottom line is, get the idea out of your head that you need to be reachable all the time, unless your job really requires it. But even if it does, you can ask that they call your cell phone or text if there's an emergency or if they really need to get in touch with you so that you can attempt to detach and not constantly be checking your emails to see if something's going on or if you missed something. Technology should really help you be working smarter, not keeping you chained to your inbox. So keep that in mind. 10, don't apologize for setting boundaries. This is another big one for us moms. We often feel like we need to apologize for just needing time for ourselves and our family, which is absolutely ridiculous. You deserve these boundaries and you don't need to justify them. Instead of saying, sorry, I can't make this call right now, I'm with my kids, just say, I'm not available at the moment, but I'd be happy to connect tomorrow. Own your boundaries without the guilt. I said it before, you are never getting this time back with your kids. And if you left your job today, they would replace you tomorrow and you'd be forgotten about by most people in a few weeks or months. So make sure you are prioritizing the time with the people that matter most and that will remember you forever. Number 11, be consistent. The hardest part isn't setting the boundaries. It's actually sticking to them. If you're saying you're logging off at 5:30, but you keep answering emails till 7, people will assume your boundaries aren't firm. It's okay to make exceptions for real emergencies, but if you don't respect your own boundaries, no one else will either. It's a matter of showing yourself and others that your time matters. And again, use the email scheduler or change your status to offline if you need to work a little later. For us, once someone sees your team status as green, it's an open door for them to reach out to you. So keep those boundaries in mind. And last but not least, number 12, adjust when necessary. Sometimes you set a boundary and you realize it just doesn't work quite as you expected, so you need to make adjustments. Maybe you thought logging off at 6 p.m. would be enough, but you're still feeling overwhelmed. Adjust as needed. It's okay to refine your boundaries over time. The point is that you're creating space for what matters most. And sometimes that means trying different approaches until you find what truly works. I've definitely blurred the lines of my boundaries recently, but that is because I'm in a season of change with starting a new role while still doing my old one. It's a lot and it requires a lot more hours, but it is a season. And I know that once I'm settled in my new role, that I have to be strict with my boundaries or else my work-life balance is going to be non-existent. So keep that in mind if you're going through a season of change too. Creating and respecting boundaries at work isn't about being inflexible. It's about protecting your energy so that you can be more effective both at work and at home. As working moms, our to-do lists are so long, and without boundaries, it's really easy for everything to blend into one exhausting, never-ending workday. Boundaries are your way of reclaiming your time, your sanity, and ultimately, and most importantly, your happiness. And remember, it's not just for you, it's for your family too. A balanced, happier mom is really the best kind of mom. Let's keep this conversation going. If you haven't joined our Facebook community yet, come and hang out with us at Work-Life Balance for Working Moms. And if you haven't rated or reviewed the show yet, please take a minute to scroll down, hit those 5 stars so you can help this podcast grow, help this mama's dreams come true, and help more moms like you find balance in their life too. Sending you so much love and light until next time on Mom Wife Career Life with Kerri Pat. Before you go, if you found this podcast helpful, I would be so grateful if you would take a minute, go on over to iTunes and leave me a review. If you have other stressed out mamas in your life that you feel this podcast could help, take a screenshot of this episode, post it on your Instagram stories and tag me, and let them know that they are not alone and they can create balance in their life too. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover or you just want to connect, DM me on Instagram at mom.wife.career.life. Or come on over and hang out in our free Facebook community, Work-Life Balance for Working Moms. Sending you so much love and light until next time on Mom Wife Career Life with Kerri Pat.